Why we don't have testosterone for women, I have no idea. That's FDA approved. It's ridiculous because we produce testosterone. We need testosterone too.
Well, my doctor in Spain said women don't need testosterone. Why are you asking for this? I was like, okay.
Not a menopause specialist.
Huh?
That's not a menopause specialist.
No, oh, she's not a menopause specialist, but not at all. I was surprised. You're a doctor. You would think you would know that women
it's not just for libido. A lot of women need it, or for brain health too. It helps with brain health. It helps also with muscle development
and
for women too.
And it's so many things. Well, it's a real pleasure to have Ellen Dolgen on the show. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to be back with you. I miss talking to you.
It's been a while. So if anybody wants to hear that first episode we did all about hot flashes and how to mitigate them, I'll have that link in the show notes. So we had a really good chat, and that was already several years ago. So we won't dive into hot flashes today, but we're going to talk a little bit about just how to empower women through this menopausal journey, because that's kind of what you do. You're a menopause activist, and you try to educate women about menopause, and you've been in this world for a long time. And I want to dig a little deeper into your own menopause journey as well. But what do you think is the hardest thing about going through menopause?
There are several things. Of course, there's no one-size-fits-all journey, which makes it complicated, because sometimes it helps that when we know exactly what we're going to go through, but you don't know exactly what your symptoms might be or when you're going to start. You don't get a hold the date notice when your perimenopause is going to begin, so you can put it on your calendar and be organized. It just pops into your life unexpectedly. And that's what happened to me. I was in my mid-40s when my first symptom was brain fog. And of course, I was in my 40s, and brain fog, I wasn't thinking menopause. And so I honestly thought I was in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease or some form of dementia, because I would lose my train of thought mid-sentence in a business meeting. And it kept happening over and over again. And it even happened in social settings. So it started to change the quality of my life. I was afraid to speak up. And I was changing my personality to accommodate the brain freeze. It wasn't like losing your keys, like, where are my keys? We all do that. Or your glasses are on your head and you're like, I can't find my glasses. That happens to everyone. That isn't what I was talking about. What I had was really like a brain shutdown. And it was really quite scary and super embarrassing. So I think one of the difficult things about it is, I would say, the unpredictability of it, when it's going to happen, how it's going to affect you personally, and then understanding what to do about it, which is all why I created a course, because I was not prepared. I knew nothing about it in my 40s. And I suffered for no reason. And I don't want anyone to suffer like I did. It was about 4 years of a difficult time, really.
And this was what, 20, 25 years ago? Is this not?
Yeah, I was in my 40s. I'm 71 now.
Yeah. And no one was talking about menopause then. And you're the generation that was silenced. And
secret. Everything was a secret.
Yeah. And it still is in many parts of the world. But I think in North America, at least, we're starting to have a voice. We're starting to normalize the conversation about menopause. So you really were struggling. I can imagine how much you're struggling, because now I don't know if you've seen this reel that's been going around, and it's like two women at a coffee table, and one of them is just saying, God, I'm really hot. I don't know. And she says, do you think it's perimenopause? And then the other one says, well, I don't know. I still wear jean jackets and have acne. Like, I don't think so. But is it? And so there's a great reel. Conversations that would never have happened, not even when I was 40 something, because I'm 54 now, and I'm like, now we're talking about it, but that wouldn't have happened to me in my 40s. No way. And now it's starting to happen, which I think is partly due to your work as well, because they're an advocate for this and making a voice for women. So thank you.
I was really mad, actually. I got to tell you, Zora, I was so mad when I found the help I needed and realized that no one educated me about this time in my life. I wasn't just, oh, no one educated me. I was mad. And when a girl gets mad, look out, some changes are about to happen. And I decided to be that change and to make it my mission to change this story, to bust open the conversation. Started, I wrote the book I was trying to find in layperson speak because the books were too complicated for me. I tried to read them, and honestly, they were in medical jargon at the time. Now there's some great books. That was a while ago, right? And there weren't. They were mostly medically written over my head. And that's when I decided to be a leader of the Menopause Revolution. I said, no, this isn't acceptable. I need to help other women. And I self-published my first book. And my husband and I joked about it. I said, look, if nobody buys the book, I'll just go to the airport and I'll hand them out because I can spot a woman. He calls me the vagina whisperer. I can tell when a woman's suffering. I could just say, you need my book, and I'll give her my book. And that was really how I went about it. Except I started my Menopause Mondays blog, which I've been doing all these years, where I interview specialists and read all the scientific information and dissect it down to layperson speak and deliver it to your door on Mondays. And the book's sold, and I republished a bunch, and they were on their way to me. I ran out of books, and then it got picked up by Hyperion Voice, a division of Disney ABC, and then they wanted to repurpose the book. Anyhow, long story short, that's how my encore career in the menopause business, or like I like to say, the vagina business, because it's way sexier. The vagina business started. And now, after speaking all over the United States to corporations and doing virtual podcasts and really trying to spread the word, everybody wanted a course because they said, well, after you leave, Ellen, I want to go back and try to access all that information that you touched on, but I want to really get to watch it in my own time. And so that's how Fearless Vagina, a crash course in mastering menopause, was born. And I just gave birth to that. So it's out there to be a further help to the sisterhood.
I also got mad when I first found out all about this. And I couldn't get mad at my mom for not preparing me for this because she passed away when she was only 57. So didn't have a chance. But I got mad at the older generation. Like, why aren't we warned about this? What's going on? You'd think you'd want to tell your daughter, your nieces, or somebody like, hey, this is going to happen and it's okay. This is what happens, whether you are on a hormone therapy or not. Like, you got to tell people, like, this is part of menopause and we can do something about it. But I felt exactly the same. I just get angry. So I'm glad you weren't one of those. Like, you are there advocating for many years. So I think our daughters and grandkids will be much better prepared for this and know that it's coming. And I see women in their 20s talking about perimenopause. I'm like, what? Okay. At least you're aware. It's just a hormonal fluctuation. Okay. It happens at every stage of life, whether for women, when we get pregnant, we go through adolescence, and now through menopause. So it's nothing new, but it's at least great to have that awareness. And I'm wondering, I imagine you must have spoken. Do you have children of your own?
Yeah. So before we move on, I do want to tell you, my mom lived to 95 and she never spoke about menopause, just so you know. There was a real education that went on with those women of that generation. My mom obviously was older than yours, but that whole generation was afraid to talk about it because my grandmother received shock therapy for menopause symptoms. Yes. And that's what they were doing to women who were having problems with depression, anxiety, and some of the emotional problems that does happen if you're hormones are fluctuating. It can happen. So that's how my mom's mindset was locked. She never spoke of it. I actually called her and said, gosh, I'm experiencing this and that. And she goes, I don't have time for that, Ellen. And I'm like, okay. But that was her code for, we're not talking about that. Like, you need to shut that conversation down.
Wow.
So you can understand how alone I felt, even my mom being alive and not able to speak about it. I had nobody to talk to, okay? And it was also, women are embarrassed because they think it's associated with old age. But now, because of your work and hopefully mine, and thank you for all the work you've done, I love what you do. Even the traveling around, speaking to women on different countries and ages, it's a beautiful thing. I just adore what you do.
Oh,
and what I have learned now is that this generation, my daughter, who's going to be 45 in January, she's like, no way is she interested in hiding her head under a pillow and suffering in silence. That's not what she does. And that's not how she parents. And that's not the way she lives her life. Because thankfully, you and I are able, with our daughters, to change that trajectory by them watching what we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think actions do speak louder than words. And my action over these years is to say, no, be proactive about your health instead of reactive when it's too late. I get phone calls from women crying at their desk.
Yeah.
They're hysterical. They're CEOs of companies. They can't think. They don't know what to do. They're trying to hide it at the work, at their job. And some of them actually leave the workforce. I think we've got to break the tradition of pretending we're fine all the time and to teach our younger friends, co-workers, and children, grandchildren, daughter-in-laws. My daughter-in-law is so prepared now, just breaking that taboo. And I think we're doing a good job because you can see movie stars now. They're not afraid to admit that they're in perimenopause, that their movie stars are. I really appreciate the fact that they're helping the movement.
Yeah, they have a voice and people will listen, and now they're opening their mouths, which really, really helps. And I think what I'm also trying to do is also disrupt that menopause stereotype, not to say that women are having all kinds of symptoms and hurt and in a lot of pain and we want to help them. But there are a lot of women, at least through my interviews that I've done, they don't feel a thing. And then there are the women who are younger who are so afraid because they see only the negative. And you think, well, there's a lot of great things that come with menopause, right? And you may not, those don't get highlighted. And then there are about 25% of the population of women who just don't feel those symptoms. It doesn't mean that they're not changing. And I always worry most about the asymptomatic woman because she's not likely to go get checkups and see her doctor and know what's happening under the hood with bones becoming brittle and the arteries building up with plaque. So that happens even if you don't feel it, but it exists. And there exists women who just honestly don't have body changes or really sailing through it. And so I also want to highlight those women too, so the other ones just not afraid. Like, it's not that horrible. And then it can be perfectly fine. But when it's horrible, we can do something about it. So you don't have to be in that position. And that's, again, disrupting these stereotypes, because when a woman sees these videos that are funny, they're joking, women, the chin hair is growing out and she's falling apart, and it does create a fear. And you think, well, that the story, the real ends there. There's no happy ending. I think I would like to share. I think that's what your work is doing too, is to say there is hope, that we don't have to suffer in silence, and we can do a lot of things to alleviate the symptoms and just get back to ourselves.
Yeah, I love that message. And you and I are the happy ending. That has another connotation, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, no offense to happy ending. I think it's a good idea. But anyway, I think the point you're making is so crucial. You don't have to have your life completely changed or be ruined, or your relationships be broken, or your clothes not fit the rest of your life, or you don't need to suffer in silence in any way, but you do need to be aware of this time in your life and what it takes to remain healthy. That's one of the messages in Fearless Vagina, a crash course in mastering menopause. I have a whole chapter on what one needs to do for their overall health, because a lot of women, Zora, think if they don't have a partner, if they don't have a lover, if they're not having sex or they're not married, they don't have to be aware of their, for example, vaginal health. Well, that is really wrong, because our vagina is a body part, just like our heart and our eyes and our breasts. And we have to be aware that we need to maintain good health in order for healthy life and longevity. And so I touch on all of that. How do you maintain good bone health? What do you do for heart health? Also, heart disease is the #1 killer for women. So if you're not overseeing your heart health from the time you're in menopause until you reach postmenopause the next day, obviously it's just one day that you're in menopause when your period is stopped for 12 consecutive months. The next day you're in postmenopause for the rest of your life. You need to maintain your heart health. You need to maintain your brain health. There are so many things that are simple and easy to do. I'll give you an example. I was on Dr. Radio yesterday, and there was a call-in, and it was a woman who was older, and she stopped seeing a gynecologist at the age of 54. She's now 60. Now that isn't okay. Well, I'm just telling you. And hasn't been checked for local estrogen therapy needs, hasn't been checked for dry vagina, hasn't had any of those tests done that she needs to have done to make sure her cholesterol is okay and staying healthy. The stuff they do for men regularly, but usually a woman has to ask for a cholesterol panel. But I'm on there and I'm like, this is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Then I got an email last month from a woman who was 86. Love this story. She says, Ellen, I've been widowed for 10 years. So she was widowed at 76. I haven't been to a gynecologist because I'm not having sex. And I have nobody in my life.
And
No, she actually wrote this. Yeah, for reals. Nobody in my life. And somebody wants to fix me up on a date. She says, I don't know what's going on down there. I think I have cobwebs down there. She says, what do I do, Ellen? I said, well, first of all, I started talking back and forth with her, and then I finally had her call me. I said, tell me, when's the last time that you've had any issues at all, vaginal issues? Do you have any problems at all? No, I have nothing. I'm fine. I said, oh. I said, so you don't have any urinary leakage problems? She goes, oh, yeah, I've had to wear a pad for 10 years. But she didn't correlate that with problems that she needed to go get looked at. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. You don't need to, you shouldn't be leaking.
Well, it'll be eventually adult diapers. And if you're okay with that, that's her life if she wants.
Well, you know, but, that is one of the in the United States, having urinary leakage is one of the common reasons that women are in nursing homes. And they also have chronic UTIs, and some of them die from being septic. Matter of fact, I just heard of a woman yesterday whose mother died being septic from a UTI. Okay, ladies, you need to have local estrogen therapy. Most women do, for sure, as we get older, to keep everything moist and plump. I know we don't want anything plump today in this society, but yeah, want it plump and moist in there. And you don't have to worry about it. And there's all kinds of ways to get that local estrogen therapy. It could be a pill that you put up there. It could be a ring, no diamonds though. You can use the cream, DHEA. There's so many things, so easy, and all prevented. So, okay, so the woman, I said, we need to get you a menopause specialist. I find her a menopause specialist. She said, can they see me tomorrow? I said, I don't know if I can pull that off. She was so cute. I got her a menopause specialist. The women saw her at lunch because she got such a kick out of the story that she's going on a date at 86 and she thinks she's having sex, which was so cute. So she went
Maybe
in.
she will. We don't know.
Yeah. So I waited to hear, right? 2 weeks later, I get an email from her. Ellen, the bad news is the dates was horrible. The good news is I don't need my pads anymore.
Oh, after 2 weeks on
2
estrogen.
weeks.
Wow. Amazing. This is crazy. So there's Dr. Felice Gersh. Do you know her?
I know who she is. Yeah.
Yeah, I just interviewed her and she put something interesting in my head. I don't know what you'll think of it, but I'd never thought of it. It makes sense though. And she says, if you need vaginal estrogen, and she's obviously very pro estrogen, then it probably means you don't have enough estradiol in your whatever cream or that you're taking, because what 20-year-old needs to have the vaginal estriol in addition to her own estrogen levels. And I thought, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way. I'm not saying everybody should increase their estradiol levels, but it's something I am thinking about. I guess it kind of makes sense. Why not?
Honestly, I need both. I do have estradiol. I do take hormone therapy.
Yeah, what she would say, it's not high enough.
And she's saying it's not high enough.
That's what she's saying.
But
and I thought,
that makes
well,
sense. Right? That makes sense in some form, except sometimes if you do the systemic too high, you can get breast tenderness and some other things. And so there's that delicate balance. Each woman is different, like I talked about. But she's right. You should look at that. But some women need both. And I happen to be one of those. I need both.
Yeah, I mean, I take both too. I just didn't think of it. But yeah, I think definitely, yeah, you have to, everyone's their own experiment.
Yes.
But, and I think this is something new. She's obviously just contemplating and thinking about and wondering. And then I'm sure she'll do a bunch of tests and check with her clients and see what's going on. But
and you could do your own tests. You could say to your menopause specialist, I'm dry and sex hurts. And let's say your doctors check the pH balance in there, which is important. Sometimes you have to ask for that because they don't do it, which is frustrating. Or as my grandson said, it's so frustrating, Grandma. But frustrated. I'm so frustrated. But you might find that if you do increment up, you won't need it. But the point is to find, I call it the sweet spot, and no pun intended. And then it all works good.
Exactly. We have to find our own formula. So let's move on because I have so many other questions for you. Well, let's talk about your own. You started talking about your own hormone therapy, and women are always curious to know what other women are doing. What is it that you've been taking, and when did you start? Because you're from that generation that was denied hormone therapy.
Yeah.
Like big time. Yeah. Like we're still denied, but you were like big time denied.
Yeah. Well, no one denied me because by the time I went for hormone therapy, I was such an advocate and had learned so much, because what happened is the way I found out I was in perimenopause was in the kitchen of a retired menopause specialist. And he's the one who mentored me when I told him, I think I'm in the early stages of dementia. And I started crying in his kitchen while I was drying a wine glass. I was just an emotional mess. I told him I wasn't sleeping. I was a mess. He said, Ellen, you're in perimenopause. And I was, of course, very insulted in those days because I thought, I'm not old. I was like, I correlated it to being old, and I was more annoyed about him thinking I was in menopause than I was worried about at that point being in dementia. So that'll tell you something. I needed some real education. And anyway, he started mentoring me, which was so sweet. We would have lunch together and he would bring me studies. And I then started researching, and then I started calling the scientists up and asking if I could have a phone call with them and interview them, because I was starting a Menopause Mondays blog. And through that whole journey, I learned the facts, which was at that point, which is now coming out now, that the WHI really delivered the wrong message to women, that even the message about breast cancer was completely skewed inappropriately, and heart disease. And it was all the way it was put out in sound bites. So women were scared. They went off their hormones like cold turkey, which was frightening for many women, and also changed their long-term health, which is really upsetting. And we can't go back. I have friends who went off. I know people who went off in those days, and they have osteoporosis. They have all kinds of issues they might not have had they stayed on. But anyway, I really think that the bottom line issue is that education is so important, and I received it. I was lucky. That's why I wanted to share that. I was so lucky. And so I was aware of the real truth. And I went on hormone therapy. He helped me find a menopause specialist who actually was up on the latest information and studies. And thank God for him, I have to say. Well, it's maybe I wouldn't feel as good as I do today. And I wouldn't have the life I have today.
How old were you when you started?
Oh, I started right away.
Like 40?
I was in my late 40s. Absolutely.
Late 40s, yeah.
I was in perimenopause.
Yeah.
I started in perimenopause. The other thing, my whole side of my father's family never lived until, including my father, they all died of heart disease before the age of 58.
Wow.
58 and younger, right? And I was freaked about it because I was in my 40s and I used to be so worried about it. And I was on cholesterol medicine because I had familial cholesterol, which I inherited, a high cholesterol. Sort of didn't matter what I ate. But I, of course, tried to, as a young person, I tried to watch my fat intake. But then, of course, we realized it now it was sugar, not fat. But okay, back in the day, they were all no fat. And that tastes a lot really well. Not good food with no fat. But anyway, today we know we're smarter. But thank you to science. I'm a big believer in science. It's probably saved my life, actually. And so I went on hormones for heart protection right away. And I haven't gone off.
Did you notice your cholesterol levels go down with the hormone therapy? Interesting. Because mine didn't. I also have high cholesterol, your family inherited, and I have a couple of genes. I have the wonky genes that they can't process the saturated fats very well. So I've noticed I can move the dial a little bit with food. But the hormones, either I'm not on high enough dosages or something, because I expected that to really get on control. Maybe it would have been actually worse if I'm not taking it.
I was just going to say, I don't know when you started your hormones or how long you've been on hormones.
For 4 years. But and I started off with just the estriol, the vaginal, and slowly built up.
That doesn't touch your cholesterol. The local estrogen therapy is not going to help manage heart disease.
Yeah.
It manages just the localized area.
Yeah.
So that's a misnomer. A lot of women think, oh, I'm getting protection. I'm on hormones because I'm on local estrogen. You're getting vaginal protection, but not, if you're not on systemic, meaning a patch, a pill, or a cream that you're doing outside or swallowing, and it's not, that isn't going to help your numbers and your cholesterol.
Maybe it needs to take more time. I mean, now I am on all of them, but it was a slow go in the beginning, but it's still, it's still working on it. But I actually, in the end, we know we have a lot of other tests that we can do, the MPO, the oxidized LDL, the ApoB, and the PO-A. And then we can see the ratios, because I said to my doctors, I just don't want to have a heart attack or a stroke. That's all I care about. I don't care about a number. I just want to know, am I in a good condition? And evidently I am. I'm doing fabulous when you look at all the other markers, but all the traditional doctors go, oh, oof, you got high LDL, you have high HDL, you got high everything, total I, like they freak out. You should be on statins. I'm like, are you kidding me? So yeah, I think I had high hopes, but maybe again, it's about finding a bit more of an optimal dosage.
Well, I do encourage women to go to a cardiologist if you do have high numbers, because there are studies that show that women are not put on medication soon enough. and to protect them from plaque. But men are put on medication right away to keep the plaque down. So you can get a measurement of the plaque in your arteries, but by a CT.
Or the Clearly scan is supposed to be even better. The Clearly, have you heard of the Clearly?
Yes.
Have you done that one?
I haven't yet.
Yeah, I want to do that. It's like, that's the next step. My doctor's like, I don't know what else to tell you. If you want to really check, then do the Clearly scan. She said the CT scan, you can be shown as 0 and you still have plaque. It doesn't.
I know, but the Clearly is a big deal.
Yeah, it's expensive too.
Yeah. It's an angiogram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's a whole.
It's invasive. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that, but one day I want to do it. I just want to be calmer about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is the most definitive test for 100%.
What hormones are you on now? And has it changed over the years too? Because you've been on it for 20 years or so, right?
Actually, I recently changed it up, if you want to know.
Yeah.
I am using a Femring now. I was on a patch and local estrogen therapy for years. I've had a hysterectomy, so I don't need progesterone. If you have got all your lady parts, you need to have progesterone and estradiol to protect so that the lining of your uterus doesn't get thick. And if it gets too thick, you could be at risk of endometrial cancer. So it's real important to make sure you've got progesterone with your estradiol. So I am just this last week, tried Femring. I basically am trying something new because I'm getting lazy. And I thought, I read about it and I've interviewed some menopause specialists and they've all switched to it. So I thought, I'm going to try it. So the Femring is estradiol. It's bioidentical and it provides you systemic and local estrogen. And it's a different concept. You twist it up, you shove it up there, and you replace it every 90 days. It's something I've never experienced before.
And so what do you get, like a big blast of estrogen in the beginning and then slowly it wears out, like a pellet kind of a thing?
It's not like a pellet. I didn't get a blast. And I'm not a fan of pellets, by the way, big time, not a fan. Because once you put a pellet in, you can't remove it.
Yeah.
And a lot of women find that they have too much, especially too much testosterone from those pellets. And what happens is they can get subcutaneous acne. You can't fix it. You're going to live with that until it calms down. And sometimes some women are like, they're ready to sleep with the wall. They can't function.
So you don't feel like you're getting a blast and then it kind of calms down?
No, I just feel great.
When did you start?
I just started it, so I got to report back to you.
Oh.
I've only been on it for 2 weeks.
Okay. And you feel the same or different than any different?
I actually feel better. I don't know if it's the placebo effect, but I was saying to my husband, I just have so much energy. I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting. So so there's estradiol in there as well as estriol, like both?
Yeah. And it does the local and also delivers it systemically. So I was not aware that existed.
Yeah.
That combo like that and that you could get that, but this product does that. So I'll keep you posted on how I do.
Are you testing it all to see how?
I wanted to, just because I like to be able to deliver information to people. A lot of people, no, we don't test. Well, I don't have a period. So I can get a pretty good test of what my estradiol is. What's different, if you have a period, you have to test on day 3.
And you're still producing your own estrogen and progesterone. So you're not sure if it's the actual hormone you're taking or if it's your own and it just gets wonky. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't test. And people who want to, that's fine. But as I understand, it's easier to test a woman post-menopause because then you know her levels are from what she's taking.
Absolutely. So I'll keep you posted. I'm pretty excited about it because I like not having the patch. It's kind of nice not doing the patch twice a week, and sometimes I would forget. And then also twice a week I had to do the DHEA. I inserted a pill.
And you can have sex with this. I mean, you can have intercourse. There's no problem. It doesn't out or
It just gets sucked up. Yeah, it's up there. I was sort of in the first few days, I was like, is this going to fall out? Am I, what? Oh, when I go to the bathroom, is it going to be in the toilet? I mean, it was hysterical. I said, David, it hasn't fallen out yet. It's still in there. I was so excited.
and he doesn't get any transfer from that? I'm sure they looked at that, but you would.
I'm sure they looked at that, but yeah, I don't think so.
Unless he starts growing man boobs, then be like, oh, okay.
If he delivers, if he starts developing, I'll let you know, but I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay, so you got the estriol, the estrogen, and then the progesterone you don't want, and then you've got testosterone or no?
You know what? In the early stages, I did go on to testosterone compounding cream, but I'm good. I went off of it. I was okay. It's different at different times in your life sometimes, but I really don't need that right now. I'm good. I'm good. But right now in the United States, you can only get compounded testosterone or you use male testosterone off label.
Yeah.
Which is like
sounds like
gel.
A pain in the butt. Yeah.
It's a gel. It comes in a tube. It's about this big. And you use I think it's 1/8 of the dose.
Yeah, how do you extract that?
Yeah, why we don't have testosterone for women, I have no idea. That's FDA approved. It's ridiculous because we produce testosterone. We need testosterone too.
Well, my doctor in Spain said women don't need testosterone. Why are you asking for this? I was like, okay.
Not a menopause specialist.
Huh?
That's not a menopause specialist.
No, she's not a menopause specialist, but not at all. But yeah, I was surprised. It's like they're a doctor. You would think you would know that.
I mean, it's not just for libido. A lot of women need it, or for brain health too. It helps with brain health. It helps also with muscle development
and
for women too.
And it's so many things.
Lots of things.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so interesting. Okay, so that's your routine. And with the cool thing is you don't have to deal now with hormones for 3 months.
90 days. 90
days. Yeah.
And then I pull that thing out.
Wonder what it'll look like.
And then I shove another one up there.
It'll be interesting to know. I don't know anyone on it. So it'd be cool to hear your experience
I'm doing
on
a
how
test.
It works out. Yeah.
I'm doing my own test.
Yeah, write your blog about it. Let us all know.
I will. You'll stay up on it.
Okay, we got to wrap up here. So I would love to ask you a couple more things about, let's see. Well, let's talk about your Fearless Vagina course because you mentioned that a couple of times. And what's it about?
I'm pretty excited about it, I have to tell you. The reason I'm excited about it is because I am delivering a message to women in 5 very easily digestible modules. They're about 20 plus minutes long. You can listen to it when you're picking up your kids or driving or sitting and watching a soccer game, or you can watch it on your laptop and get the visuals too, or on your iPhone. And I'm making it easy for women to get the important information that they can take and learn how to take control of their menopause, like basically take your power back. Because I think when we're a mess, I don't know about you, but when I was really a mess in the beginning stages, I felt powerless. Like I felt like somebody had taken over my body. And it was so upsetting to me that I couldn't control anything about how I was feeling because I didn't have the education. So I want women to take their power back. They're going to really get a clear understanding of the various stages, including pre-menopause. That's why the course is for a younger woman too, because the woman who's still in the family planning stage needs to understand that perimenopause is around the corner. And perimenopause is when your ovaries start to retire and they start to not function as well. So there are tests and things you can do in premenopause. I have it all in the course to make sure you are in charge of your family planning and that it doesn't just get away from you. So all stages, pre, peri, menopause, and post-menopause are addressed. And then I tell you how to control your symptoms. I have a symptoms tracker. I tell you how to find a menopause specialist. I tell you how to prepare for the menopause specialist appointment, what to ask for. I tell you the facts versus the myths of hormone therapy in easy to understand speak. So that's the key here, right? I talk about non-hormonal treatments that you should understand so you can go ask about them, and all the lifestyle changes that you can make. And then I go into in another module on how to protect your overall health and your vaginal health. Because that, like we talked about, it's not over after your period stops. Like, you don't have to stop worrying about your health just because your period has stopped. You have a lot of good life ahead of you. I'm like still kicking and strong here, and I have no intention of stopping. But is that possible? Because I understand my vaginal, sexual, and urinary health. I understand it. I know how to take care of it. I understand how to take charge of my heart health and how to bone health and all those different things, brain health. And I do that in a module so other women will know how to do that. I share it. And then I talk about how you can transform your life, really, by boosting your energy and sleeping better and some breath work and things for stress. Because stress, everybody says, oh, you need to calm down, don't be stressed. We get stressed. We care about our family. We worry about everything that happens to our grandchildren, our children, our spouses, our lovers. Stress is a normal thing. You can't just stop it, but you can be proactive about it. And I've learned this when I've interviewed specialists, and a little bit about nutrition. You don't have to gain weight. There's some things you can try, right? Because weight gain is not fun, and it really makes women depressed. And no one likes to be a member of the sisterhood of the shrinking pants, where like one day you wake up and you just can't zip your pants and you're like, who did this? And then I move into how you can be confident in the workforce, because women are really experiencing difficult times during this stage. And what I've learned is there's like nearly 50 million women over 35 in the workforce that are experiencing menopause symptoms in the US. And they can mess with your life, right? And they've learned that menopause can cost billions of dollars lost because of women in the workforce really not feeling well. Some women actually leave the workforce. On that Dr. Radio call yesterday, there was a woman who actually quit her job because she was so stressed, okay? She thought stress was causing her to be not functioning well. She went to her doctor, and the doctor wanted to put her on anti-anxiety medicine. She didn't want to go on it, so she quit her job. She tried to find something she could do that was less stressful. She was listening to Dr. Radio, listening to me talk about symptoms, and she realized, oh my God, this was hormone related. And she changed her whole career because of that. So
it's something that unfortunately, happens. And I think when we are aware and we're more empowered and we know what to do about it, we don't have to quit what we love doing. If you don't like doing it anyways, then fine. But if we want to live long, healthy lives, being part of the workforce and the fabric of society is one of the keys. So yeah, I'm going to have to let you go, Ellen. I'm just so grateful for all the work that you've done. And I'm going to have a link to that crash course in Mastering Menopause, the Fearless Vagina, and your contact information on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere. Yeah. You're everywhere.
Be fearless.
Be fearless.
Where's my note? There it is.
So
it reminds me every day. I have a shop. So if you want to be fearless and get a reminder, I've got mugs and hats, and it actually reminds me every morning to be fearless about my life.
Oh, well, then on that note, why don't you tell us what is the best thing about being in post-menopause?
You don't give a damn. Like, I don't care as much. I don't worry about it as much. I'm very bold and out there. And it was funny. I was just moderated a symposium on women's health. at the Venter Institute of Science here, which is world renowned. And they asked me to moderate. And I started by saying, look, my husband has been trying to moderate me for 49 years. So it's kind of ironic that you chose me to be the moderator because it ain't happening. I don't do anything in moderation. That's the point. I don't really worry about everything as much. I think there's a freeing. Now, that may come with age, but it also comes with not worrying about getting pregnant all the time. That was a worry in my life. I don't know about you. I was working and I was trying to manage everything, and I wanted to manage my family planning. And part of the time it was like we were nervous. We weren't ready at that point, or we had just had a baby. Didn't want to get pregnant again. All the things you worry about. The string gets cut and you're just out there and you get to fly. And I hope women realize that. Because like you said, it's good. It's good if you figured it out. It's not good if you haven't. And so get educated and get the help you need and deserve.
Wonderful. Great to end on that note. Thank you so much, Ellen. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yes, you too. And stay well.